Hey everybody, CVH here, and today we're going to be taking the video to go over some news for the Elder Scrolls Legends. I like to do this when we get big updates, because I know a lot of you may not be checking Reddit as regularly, or maybe you try to keep up to date with the game more or less through the channel. Really do appreciate that, by the way. And we have gotten some pretty substantial updates for the game in the last couple days, so I wanted to go over them and just basically give you the news in the first part of the video in case you just need the facts, you haven't seen them yet. You could probably surmise some of it from the title, and then take the second half of the video, as I like to do, and just talk about what I think this could mean for the future of the game and my thoughts on the changes in general. So, without further ado, let's get right into it. This is the game update 1.64, the patch notes, and there are a lot of patch notes. I definitely encourage you to go through and read them, but as you can see from the title, one of the things we'll be focusing on in these patch notes is right here in front of us, the Spectator Mode. I guess this will be known as the Spectator Mode patch. The first version of Spectator Mode is now live. You can now observe friends actively playing a match and chat with them while watching. An icon next to your friend's name on the friends list shows when you can spectate them. So this, as it turns out, was implemented earlier today and works exactly like Hearthstone's friend list Spectator Mode, as you would expect. You can watch your friends play live. You can turn on your do not disturb thing on your friends list if you don't want people to spectate. You can also kick people who are spectating if you don't want to be spectated but you didn't turn the do not disturb thing on. The one important difference that we will be talking about a little bit more when I go over my opinions and stuff is that currently you can only spectate one person at a time. People who played Hearthstone will know that if you have two people on your friends list who happen to be in a ranked match with each other or just playing a friendly battle with each other, you can spectate one of them, and then if the other person sends you an invite to spectate as well, you can also spectate that person and view both players' hands basically and watch the game as you normally would, except you get to see both of the options. This is pretty critical because it gives a lot of these Hearthstone tournaments a way to get casters to effectively see the game as it happens. The other thing we'll be talking about was actually not implemented in the patch earlier today, but it is Gauntlet Mode. I did do a video discussing Spectator and Gauntlet Mode a long time ago, and we finally got more information on the Gauntlet Mode, and I thought it would be remiss of me to not share that information in today's video as well. Have you hungered for a more competitive mode to test the mettle of your best constructed decks? Do you want to crush your opponents for loot and glory? Yada yada yada, you know, the whole spiel. Gauntlet launches later this month. That's the only date we have available, or the only time frame we have available currently, and we'll introduce a variety of limited time competitive events on a regular basis. Gauntlets will come in various forms, including high-stakes events with leaderboards and exclusive cosmetic prizes. First and simplest gauntlet will be called Rumble. And it's important to know this is just the first iteration of Gauntlet Mode called Rumble. They're not always going to be like this, obviously, as it mentions. In this gauntlet, you'll choose a deck from your collection to battle until you reach 9 wins or 3 losses. Players who reach 9 wins will receive a guaranteed random legendary among other prizes. The cost of entry is 150 gold or an event ticket, formerly called an arena ticket. So important to note that unlike Hearthstone's Heroic Tavern Brawl, the cost is actually reasonable. And you can then use the tickets, which are event tickets. You can use them for arena or these gauntlet modes. I suppose you'll be able to use them for any gauntlet, but that's not totally confirmed, but that seems likely, right? And the Rumble prize table, so this is just for Rumble, it's not necessarily for all Gauntlet modes. They could just change this up, but the Rumble prize table, since this will be the first Gauntlet mode, as you can see here, I've zoomed in, based on the number of wins, you will always get at least 1 pack, so it's similar to Arena in that way. And gold soul gems, which can scale upwards depending on how you do. Obviously, once you start getting a substantial amount of wins, you get 2 packs, 60 gold, 20 soul gems for 5 wins. It goes up all the way to 9 as opposed to versus arena, which only goes to 7. This is more like solo. But if you hit 8 wins, you get 3 packs, or 7 wins, you get 3 packs, 8 wins, 3 packs, 9 wins, you get the 4 packs, 175 gold, so more than your entry fee back, 0 soul gems, and 1 random legendary card. And, you know, there's all of that. And be sure to keep an eye on the Legends website for a future preview of our first Leaderboard Gauntlet. It's a doozy, so that's some foreshadowing there. So that's basically all we have for the news part of the video. The Spectator Mode, which we now have in the client. If you're watching this video, Spectator Mode is live, so you can go ahead and spectate your friends or have them spectate you. And the Gauntlet Mode, which will be live later this month, according to this article. So now let's just take a few minutes, I suppose, and talk about what some of this means. I don't have a huge amount of things to talk about regarding Spectator Mode. pretty much no secret that I wanted it for a long time, and a lot of people have wanted it. It's obviously a great tool. It encourages interactivity. It encourages you to play this game with your friends. Even if you don't feel like queuing up a game, you can watch your friends play. You can discuss plays with them. When I was playing Hearthstone, I would frequently use Spectator Mode for coaching. I've done a little bit of coaching in this game as well, but it forces you to kind of use like a Skype screen share or Google Hangouts or something like that, or Discord if you don't have a Spectator Mode in the client. Now those problems are fixed. It seems to work relatively well. I waited to make this video until after I did my daily stream, so we could actually experiment a little bit with the Spectator Mode. I was spectated by a few people. It wasn't really intrusive. The button's in kind of an odd space. It covers up a couple cards in your hand if you happen to go up to 10 cards in your hand. Not covers them up entirely, but just sort of gets in the way a little bit. But like I've mentioned before, the board in this game is relatively huge compared to a lot of card games. It really takes up almost too much of the screen, you could say. But there's a lot of cards, obviously. 8 per player, 4 per lane. So that's kind of unavoidable maybe, but it seemed to work fine when people spectated me. It wasn't intrusive. I didn't use the kick button, so I didn't get to test that. I assume it works fine. And when I was spectating other people, it worked fine. Just made sure I wanted to spectate, made sure I wanted to leave. Nothing really out of the ordinary. I could hover over my opponent's discard pile. I could check things out. Basically everything you could do in Hearthstone, with the one important difference of the fact that you cannot currently spectate 2 people at the same time. Now, in my previous video, many months ago, I suppose at this point, about the Spectator and Gauntlet mode, when we first had those terms spoiled, I did reference the fact that this was great specifically because you could then have tournaments where people could cast them based on spectating. I've casted tournaments in Hearthstone before, and pretty much universally, I didn't have like a crazy big setup. I wasn't as part of this live event with a bunch of, fancy setups and all that good stuff. Universally, the way it went was I had to spectate both of the people playing in the match, just add them as friends on my client, and then I would simply spectate one, the other would send me a friend request, and I could see both players' hands, and yeah, the client had some bugs. This was back when that sort of thing was new in Hearthstone, but that was the way it worked. So when I referenced Spectator Mode a couple months back in that one video, I was talking in the context of tournaments, which this current Spectator Mode just does not allow you to do. You can only spectate one person per client you have open, so no matter how you slice it, it's going to be a little bit out of the way, and I really do hope they patch in that ability to spectate multiple people on your friends list soon. I think that would be pretty required for Spectator Mode, because I know, even if I wasn't to do an open series for Between the Lanes, which I have always thought about but haven't really gotten around to, at this point, I really do need to wait until the Spectator Mode is allowing me to do so, and I would also like to wait until the game gains more popularity. I don't really think it's completely worth the effort that I would have to put in currently, but down the line, I would need the Spectator Mode to function like that, and I know a lot of the people at the TESL Championship Series, which are not officially connected to Bethesda or Direwolf, but they're running some pretty great third-party tournaments, showing some good initiative, and they've been waiting for Spectator Mode for exactly the same reason as I have, and they were a bit disappointed today, just to put it frankly. They wanted to see the Spectator Mode be able to function on the same level as Hearthstone so we could get those good casts, because currently it's really, really hard. The way people have done it so far is making sure if you want a game streamed, you can have that, and you can have it casted, but you have to do it not live, basically, because you have to have both of the players record their games, and then send those files in, and then have someone edit those files together so the hand of the opponent is visible in a pleasing manner. And then you can edit some more stuff, which is nice and everything, and you get the casters to go over it on stream later, but it really takes away from a lot of the passion of the live event, So I do hope the Spectator Mode gets that patched in. As far as how it works totally fine. I have no problems with its functionality. There are some weird glitches with this patch today. It seems like the game is moving slower at times. Basically every time I would switch screens after playing a game and then entering a game again before I queued up, every single time without fail for about 3.5 hours, it did freeze the game for like 2 seconds, similarly to how the chat would freeze the game. If I was responding to something while I was playing, it would freeze for like 2 seconds. Now I'm getting that freezing a lot more in different places, which is kind of strange, but I don't think it has anything to do with Spectator Mode. Someone thought it might because someone was spectating me, then it happened, but then people stopped spectating me, and then it was still kind of happening, so I don't really know what's up with that. I assume it has nothing to do with Spectator Mode. So as a mode, I'm totally fine with it, and I'm looking forward to seeing how it's improved upon in the future. So now we get to move on to Gauntlet Mode, and this is something people have been looking forward to for a long time, ever since it was first spoiled. I did do some writing for PC Gamer when we first got some of these announcements about the release of the game and everything, when Gauntlet Mode was hinted at a bit more, and I pointed to the fact that it was initially going to be similar to Heroic Tavern Brawl. If you guys don't come from Hearthstone, basically Heroic Tavern Brawl, you pay like $10 or 1,000 gold or something, and you play up to 12 wins or 3 losses, and you get prizes based on how you do in the exact same format, except the prizes are different, obviously, and you're obviously playing Hearthstone instead of Legends, so that's its own thing. But yeah, people seemed surprised when this got released that the Rumble Brawl was similar to Heroic Tavern Brawl, but this is kind of the format that's really easy to do. Some people really wanted to see a specific tournament mode, more like what Magic Online has, but that was kind of confirmed to not be what the Gauntlet mode would be a while back, because they wanted a game mode where you could just, basically as with Arena, you don't really have to wait for something to fire, you don't have to wait for an additional round, you could basically just queue a game and get an opponent. For the Rumble mode, I think the prizes are totally reasonable. I think this does a really good job of balancing the accessibility of 150 gold or an event ticket, same price as Arena, with some pretty solid prizes. You do get the 9-win, the prizes are pretty nuts, right? 4 packs and a free legendary and 175 gold. That's way better than anything you can get in Arena. So this is truly something that I think will appeal to, Legend ladder players, people who have just been, waiting for some reason to really grind Constructed, and maybe a lot of people who just enjoy the concept of prizes but don't necessarily love to play a ton of Arena. Totally understandable. Everyone has their favorite modes, so this is something that really appeals to those players. And I think, while it's not necessarily the most rewarding format for a new player building their collection as opposed to Arena, which kind of puts you on a more even footing, I do think the accessibility of this mode will at least encourage people to try it out a lot more than you would be encouraged to play a Heroic Tavern Brawl if you didn't think you were really up to the average standard of the Heroic Tavern Brawl player. At least in this mode, you're using less gold. You can get some really good competitive games in, which translates to experience, which translates to knowledge, which translates to you being better, and translates to you winning more in the future. So I think it's a good, encouraging, accessible format for the Rumble Brawl. For the Rumble Gauntlet. This is not Brawl, this is Gauntlet. For the Rumble Gauntlet, I think it does a good job. And while people might be a little disappointed, people have been expecting tournaments for a long time. I know I really, really hope that we get some news about official Bethesda tournaments in the very near future. So people were a bit disappointed this wasn't necessarily that. The thing about it is, we have to understand that the Rumble is not the only Gauntlet, and it really all depends at this point what they do for the future Gauntlets. As we can see here, we're excited to hear what you think about this mode, and keep an eye on the Legends website for a future preview of our first Leaderboard Gauntlet. It's a doozy. So this won't really have a leaderboard if I'm understanding it correctly, but the first Leaderboard Gauntlet that does have a leaderboard, I don't know exactly how they're going to keep track of that, but you can theoretically keep track of the players that are doing better, the players with the most wins, or the players with the highest average score after a few runs, and however you track that, maybe you could then add additional good rewards, even past the normal prize pool that you get per run, to those people who, at the end of whatever time frame you set, are highest on the leaderboard. They could qualify. This is legitimately something that was said before, was that they could use that leaderboard to qualify people for other tournaments. And if they don't necessarily use this as a tournament structure scene thing, but if they implement the Gauntlet mode in the correct different iterations it might have into a larger tournament mode, or into a larger tournament scene where they're then using it to fly people out, then they have these big events and it leads into their world championship structure, or whatever they do in the future. If they can implement an in-game mode for that, it will immediately be infinitely better than a lot of these other card games online. Because the thing about it is Hearthstone's tournament structure is under flack for a lot of reasons actually at this point, but one of the big reasons is that it's so inaccessible to new players, because you log onto the client, you don't really have any idea how to get involved in the tournament scene. All these tournaments are run by third-party organizations, they're on different websites, the formats are all over the place. You don't really see it when you're on the game. You just see a casual game and you can play it on your phone, you can play it wherever, it's fun, but you don't really know how to take that step. So if that's integrated into the game via a Gauntlet, then all of a sudden it's a really easy bridge to make, and at least the new players and the casual players will have at least some information about where the road could take them if they wanted to play that way. Obviously, we have no news about any official competitive scene at the start of things, but that's just me theorizing, me being hopeful because I'm a competitive player. I do think if they eventually come up with a competitive scene, it would be only natural to include the Gauntlet mode in that. Not necessarily this Rumble mode, this is just for some good prizes. They could do these as well. They could even do wackier ones that are similar to Chaos Arena, except with constructed decks, or decks constructed a certain way. I think there's a lot of design space for those, and I think there's a lot of design space for implementing it into a larger tournament scene as well. So that's basically it for the rambling portion of this video. As you can tell, I like the Spectator Mode, its functionality. I hope we can spectate 2 people at the same time soon for tournaments. I like the Gauntlet Mode. I think this one's set up well for the Rumble, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they do in the future. But I've rambled long enough, and now it's time for you to do some rambling in the comments, join the conversation, and feel free to let me know what you think about these updates. Let me know what you think about Spectator Mode if you've been waiting for it for a while, if you've tried it, if you've liked it. Let me know what you think about the Gauntlet Mode upcoming soon. We haven't gotten a chance to try it yet, but let me know what you think about the Rumble mode, the prizes, what they could do for the future. I'm sure Bethesda might be reading these comments. Maybe you can have some sick ideas. They would implement them in the future. Let me know what you guys think about these. I'm really excited to try them myself. Going to be playing a lot of Rumble on stream as soon as it comes out, and looking forward to seeing what they do with the rest of them. Hopefully you are too. And as always, if you've enjoyed the news video, feel free to leave a like. Feel free to subscribe to the channel for more gameplay videos, specifically more so than news videos and other kinds of stuff, deck techs, all that good stuff for Elder Scrolls Legends. Feel free to follow my stream at the link in the description. I do stream this game daily, so you can catch me live there, and I'll see you guys next time.